It's time in crypto to do exactly the opposite of what other people are doing. So let's take a look at the altcoin market. Let's look at the reasons why we should be super bullish right now. Let's look at some specific altcoins and also speculate a little bit on how high it could go. And if we repeat cycles like we did before and we do include diminishing returns, then the returns are already off the charts. So let's not wait much longer because your expectations should be a little realistic. Not too high, also not too low. So welcome to the FOMO Factory. Like the video if you already like the video. This light was saying, I got your back. Yeah. Stupid. Since I'm a dad, my dad jokes didn't necessarily become better. I don't know what I should do. Maybe get rid of my children. This is not good for the algorithm. Bye. Sorry, son. Anyway, the altcoin market at the moment is going a little sideways, right? Like there's not much going on in the altcoin market. If you look at it on the daily, this is the total crypto market, excluding the top 10 altcoins and everything within the top 125, right? So these are the mid and to the high caps, basically. Yeah, it's been going up, it's been going down a little bit, and overall for the last month or two, it is actually in an uptrend, so that's looking pretty good, but still a lot of altcoins are just not really doing it yet. Now, what's the biggest reason that they are lagging? In my speculative Dutch opinion, it's mostly because Bitcoin hasn't clearly broke out of the previous all-time high range yet. Bitcoin was at the same level as it was in January and at the same level it was in December, even slightly more towards November. So Bitcoin is at the same point. It hasn't got that big move up. Now we can all take that back to the macro, and therefore I feel like, oh, but what's actually so bad about it? If you look at the S&P, for example, it's almost at all-time highs again. People said that when we got the tariffs, it was over and the S&P moved like a total shitcoin back then. But it kind of looks similar like what it did to COVID, right? It had a big wick down, and especially if you look at a monthly chart, it got bought up pretty much right away. And that's what we are seeing right now with the S&P. This whole wick was just a wick. It wasn't bad or anything. So this is telling me like, okay, it's looking actually pretty good out there. What are we complaining about? Cool. So macro, the stock market is looking good. Bitcoin is looking good. Just needs some time, but hey, that's Bitcoin. Slow but steady, it wins the race, right? However, the altcoin market is a little lagging. Did not make new all-time highs yet. Makes people wonder if it is maybe over. No. But I can imagine that you are getting bored out of the market, and that's exactly the thing that you are going to fall for if you do that. There are not a lot of people in this market already. The people that are here are going to get bored out. So who are going to be the few winners? The people that decide that you should just buy the real lows and have a buckload of patience from that point. Now, why are altcoins not moving yet? And once they move, how high could it go? I think that the big reason that they are not moving yet is simply because we're still in a QT bull market, right? You cannot look at the altcoin market and say that it's not a bull market. Maybe your portfolio is not in a bull market. In that case, you should change your portfolio a little bit. But overall, altcoins are in a bull market, but not in an alt-season bull market. And I think the biggest reason is that the balance sheet is still getting reduced. And you can say whatever you want, but every time you overlay the altcoin market on its Bitcoin pair on the Fed balance sheet, you can just see that whenever we are not in QT, the altcoin market on its Bitcoin pair goes up. But whenever QT starts, the altcoin market on its Bitcoin pair goes down. Now, why do we talk about altcoins on the Bitcoin pair? Because that's all we need in order to make altcoins go fucking nuts. Because Bitcoin is already sitting at $105,000. You cannot look at this chart and be like, oh, I can't wait until it goes up. It has been going up, but the liquidity is going into BTC and not really into alts. Of course, here and there a few selective one, and congrats if you have a couple of those. Let me know down below. Do you have one of these? Maybe not. Maybe, I don't know. Give me some. No, I don't know, but congrats. But overall, it is not really working out yet. That's, of course, very funny for the people that say, this time is different. Well, you just have to have some patience, bro. And if you have that, you will nail it. You can see that the Bitcoin dominance is still in an uptrend. Like, I want to say somewhat of an uptrend because we have a red candle right here and we had a red candle last month. So, okay, for the last 2 months, it's stalling out a little bit. But then again, you can say that this is not an uptrend, of course, right? The Bitcoin dominance is in an uptrend, although it broke a very big rising wedge, which is not the most bullish sign, but you can see that all the liquidity is still sitting in Bitcoin. Once that moves into alts, that's where the party is going to start. And that has two reasons. One, the money that's already in the crypto market is a lot, right? In 2021, we had an alt season while the altcoin market was lower, or the total crypto market was lower than where we are right now. So you know that the amount of money that's in the crypto market, that's not a problem. There is enough money, of course. You can say like, yeah, but FOMO, there are more altcoins in the market right now. And that is definitely true. We have to keep that in mind. But by far not enough to stop an alt season run. I've heard that by now, like, yeah, there are so many coins, it will never be an alt season. All these so many coins were created on Pump Fund. They got rocked already. They are dead already. They literally cannot take the liquidity out of the rest of the market. That's not a problem. And overall, I think in a bull market, it doesn't even really matter that much what you buy, as long as you buy some good quality alts. In the Alt Factory, there's a link down below. You can follow my portfolio in real time if you want to get some inspiration, or you want to do a one-on-one call with me, and a lot more. So do take a look. Being in a good community with smart people instead of a cheap, free Telegram group with a lot of fudders and panic sellers makes all the difference. But two things that I think we need in this market. One, the money is already there. So we need the push from Bitcoin or high caps into the rest of the altcoin market. What is going to be the push that drives the Bitcoin dominance down? Maybe just the end of QT, maybe more rate cuts, maybe an insane Ethereum upgrade, maybe a massive new DApp that comes out that makes altcoins go up. Then retail comes in. Because let's be honest, Bitcoin is 105K, right? It's insane. We all like talked about that for years, like Bitcoin over 100K, it's going to be incredible and everybody will be there. You know who's there? Nobody, me and my camera. I'm not even speaking to someone, I think. Like I can do anything right now. I'm not going to do it, but I can. Makes my son laugh. He's 3. But let's be honest, most of the YouTube responses are like probably around the same age. So now that I lost the respect of my own community, nobody is here. So nobody cares when Bitcoin is going up. People do care when altcoins go up. That's my theory. Bitcoin goes to over 100K. Yeah, what's your neighbor gonna think? I don't have 100K, I'm not gonna buy Bitcoin. I don't care. What they do see is, hey, altcoins are going up. Oh, there's another cheap altcoin. Let me get into that, right? Then retail comes in. And that's the typical domino effect that we need. Then altcoins go up more and more and more because more money from the outside is coming into crypto. And then the people in crypto with Bitcoin over 100K that pumped because of all the shit that was been going on for the last 2 years with the ETFs, the institutions, and just the typical market sentiment, and that Bitcoin is just going up, whatever the narrative might be. These people will be like, okay, cool. Hey, it's not Bitcoin season anymore. Let's get into alts. And that will make pump alts even more. And that's why you see these huge candles down on the Bitcoin dominance. But before you are there, it's so hard to imagine that it will ever happen. Do you really think that when we were here, people said, yeah, we will get an alt season? Nobody was here. Nobody believed that. So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, in my opinion. So my biggest advice so far, at least, hold on to your bags. Hold on to the quality altcoins. Hold on if you've been riding this whole thing so far. You know how it would have felt for the people who were being in alts all the way here, watching Bitcoin destroying them basically. And here they be like, yeah, you should be in Bitcoin. And then alt season came. These people don't, they're not alive anymore, I can assume, dude. You might want to fuck with that llama, by the way. Like, that's just my like, until I have a golden play button, I have to look at that thing like every day. And you as well. So you better subscribe. Otherwise, you're going to see that llama every fucking time you open my video. You don't want that. Now, when it comes to alts, why are they at the moment so high reward, low risk? It's funny, right? You feel like it's the opposite. You feel like, nah, the altcoin market is now too dangerous. It's a way, way, way better time to invest than it has been for a long time. Let me tell you why. If you very simplistic look at things like I do, I don't have the brain capacity to overcomplicate anyway, right? Therefore, I'm doing pretty fine in crypto. People overcomplicate. and they get wrecked. If you look at this coin, CDFI, doesn't matter what it is, most coins look like something like this, right? CDFI was $5, right? $5.50. Where, look, let me put it like this. Here, it was $4.50. The local top was sitting at 5.5. The local bottom apparently set at 50 cents. So was it very safe and high rewarding to buy over here? Of course not, right? It was way closer to the top and it was way further from the bottom. But it's weird, right? Because whenever the market is here, you feel comfortable. That's how the market works. You feel comfortable in the time where there is a lot of risk, and you feel very uncomfortable in the time where there is low risk. So therefore, you want to counter trade the sentiment. If you feel uncomfortable about buying, you should get in. That's what it is, man. Now as well, CDFI is now sitting at 69 cents, right? The local bottom was 46. Could it go a little lower maybe? I don't know, maybe yes, maybe no, maybe llama. I have no clue, right? But we can all say that it's at least closer to the bottom right now than the top. So isn't this a way better time to buy than here? Of course, by far, right? By far. And you can take a look at a lot of coins. Render has been a stable outperformer, right? But even Render, if you look at the performance of this market so far, yeah, the top was $14 and the local bottom was $2.40. It's now sitting below $4. So it's closer to the bottom than the top, wherever the next bottom and top may be. Therefore, it's now way better to buy. But nobody wants to buy here. People rather buy here. Great, do that. Let me buy here, and then when we are here, you go buy there, right? Pump my bags. That's how we get rich in crypto. So overall, yes, the altcoin market is way. That wasn't in high speed. That's ADHD speed. Way lower risk, higher reward right now. Therefore, I love alts at this moment. And people say, you're crazy because they're dead. Yeah, if everything is dead every time that it's low, then you will never have an opportunity to buy and really make some money. Sometimes you have to gamble. Hey, what a coincidence. I'm looking at fucking crypto charts. That's all I'm doing. Okay, cool. So we got it, right? The charts are looking a lot better. QT is probably ending soon. It is the post-halving year. Like, okay, we get it. Buying in this area is what we need to do, right? It's not a guarantee, but it is the fastest horse. You go bet on a handicapped horse with a wooden leg and on ice. I don't know. I should get better at that, but that's not the way to do it. So buying now, check, cool, we should do. What about selling? Where could it potentially go? This is at least just as speculative, but we can speculate based on data, which makes it a little less speculative, at least. So let's do that. Overall, I'm bullish, okay? So I'm gonna give you my conservative bull case scenario. I'm gonna give you my this should at least happen bull case scenario. And I'm gonna give you my this would be very nice bull case scenario, and not even the, well, what if bull case scenario. Let's not even talk about that yet. People don't even like to hear that at this point, right? The bear case scenario, yeah, that's all goes to fucking zero. That could always happen. It will always remain the bear case scenario, right? That disclaimer should be given at any time. So what is a decent way to look at the altcoin market? Well, first we can base it on how the altcoin moves compared to Bitcoin in this current market right now. So we at least know that this way of charting works, right? It's not even that speculative. Now, what do I mean? If you look at the Bitcoin dominance, again, this is Bitcoin and the dominance, high Bitcoin on dominance, high on Bitcoin dominance. If you look at the Bitcoin dominance, this is basically how Bitcoin does compared to the rest of everything in the top 125. ETH, alts, stables, ETH is also an alt, but you know what I mean. What you can see right here in this cycle, which was not too long ago, in November last year, right? Has something really changed for the worse since then? No. What happened right here? Well, the Bitcoin dominance went down with wick to wick, right? Let's say 10% for easy math. Down 10%. Now, is that a lot? For in this market so far, that was something to celebrate. But overall, if you compare it to Altseasons, here it went down 47%, and in this alt season it went down with 63%, and even in a not an alt season but just in a mid Bitcoin cool off, 21%. So we'll know that 10%, no, it is not a lot, right? So, but that's what we got. And that happened during QT. Again, QT is likely to end sometime, right? It will 100% end at some point, of course, otherwise the Fed balance sheet goes to zero. They won't let that happen, which could only be beneficial. So this 10%, I think everybody in his right mind knows that we will get a bigger move than that someday. How did the altcoin market respond to that though? You have to know, of course, like, yeah, but what was the value of Bitcoin? Because if the Bitcoin dominance goes down 10% while Bitcoin is $10, and then your altcoins are not going to gain billions in market cap. This happened while Bitcoin was sitting at $90,000 until 105, where we are right now, basically, right? So from this point, Bitcoin can even go down to $95,000. So let's say a 10K candle down. What happened with altcoins in that period in October, November, December till the top of that run? Well, if we look again at not the low caps, right? TradingView doesn't have a chart for that, or you have to look at these coins individually. But if you look at the overall relative low cap, whatever, altcoin market, in that move from October, I'm not even going to take it from the wick, okay? In that move from October until that top, the altcoin market went up with 140%. So that's how the altcoin market does. If Bitcoin sits at around $100,000 and the dominance goes down with just 10%, then the altcoin markets from such a point can go up with 140%. Cool, we can work from there. Now, there are a lot of ways to say to yourself, like, hey, this is where the Bitcoin dominance can go. FIB says to around 44%. That's also where a huge support zone is sitting. And there are more reasons to believe that it could go there, actually. And that's like, it's not even that weird of a target. Also, if you account for diminishing losses, returns, whatsoever, then by the end of the year, according to this trend line, it could be sitting somewhere around 42%, but let's make it 45%, right? So from this current point, that's a move down of 30%. That's 3 times as much as what we have seen here in November, December, like 3 times as much from the current point. Well, we know that when Bitcoin is around 100K, and again, it can even go down with 10K, let alone Bitcoin just going up. But we know that Bitcoin with its current price, if that happens, that altcoins can go up 3 times as hard as that 140% that we have seen before as well, right? In that case, the altcoin market from here can go up 420%, and that's around this level of $1.3 trillion. So this is the scenario, actually, that the Bitcoin dominance goes into a normal alt season, a little less big than what we have seen last cycle and a lot less big than what we have seen the cycle in 2017. That combined with that Bitcoin itself doesn't go up at all. It can even go down 10K. Yeah, that doesn't sound like a very realistic / bull case scenario, actually. And that would already bring the altcoin market to $1.3 trillion. It doesn't take that much. You have to remember Bitcoin is $104,000 at the moment of recording. A little liquidity out of Bitcoin into alts, and these alts can already respond very well. There's so much liquidity there right now compared to the last cycle. And what you can also say is like, yeah, that's all nice, but Bitcoin goes higher than this, right? Bitcoin goes to $200,000, right? 2x in the post-halving year, the latest post-halving year. Okay, did that ever happen? Yeah, it always happened, by the way. So, you know, that's also a possibility. And that we then get that alt season. Yeah, then alts basically respond twice as good to that. And then the target should be around $2.4 trillion. And it sounds like, woo, but apart from the woo, it has always been woo, right? Like, it's crypto. It's not the S&P or anything. There is a lot of money in the market. And even with current Bitcoin's market cap doing a 2x, yeah, I don't know. But if you look at the adoption and the way that Bitcoin is being discussed all over the world onto presidential and even country level, that's not that weird, right? It's not like that high of a market cap compared to gold or whatever, or certain stocks. Another way of looking at it is this. If you take a look at the total crypto market and the fair value. And the fair value is basically somewhat of a moving average, right? Is it below the fair value? Then it just means that the altcoin market, or the total crypto market in this case, is undervalued compared to how it usually moves around it. And in every single bull market, it goes not just above the fair value, but way above it, right? Every one of them. I'm not gonna do that math, I did that before, but if you measure like how many X's it went above the fair value here, and you go with that diminishing return, then it should go above 2.5x above the fair value this market. Now the fair value itself sitting at $5 trillion by the end of the year. So you could be very bearish and say, well, it just goes to the fair value. Okay, if it just goes to the fair value and not even above it, then it's $5 trillion. The total crypto market right now is 3 trillion. All right. Well, if you look at 5 trillion, and if you then look how much altcoins are dominating, that's currently with 7%. Let's say that the domination for altcoins doesn't even go above 20% this time, right? It, for the first time, does not make a new high. It just maybe goes to that 15% once again. 15% of $5 trillion is $750 billion. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not wrong. You won't correct me, man. I think I nailed this one. I usually suck at this, so I'm proud. So $750 billion. Again, that's a scenario where the total crypto market is doing like not even diminishing, but just really bad this time. And where the domination for altcoins also completely died off, basically. Even then, if you combine that, you get a scenario where the altcoin market goes to around $750 billion. So that would be around this level right here. That's my worst case bull scenario. This is the won't be that great, but I'll take it kind of scenario. And then we have 2.4 trillion, which I feel like, yeah, it won't even be, it would still be the worst bull market, but it at least played out like it always did, right? And that would be that scenario. Now, we can also, again, confirm or double check something by looking at this, for example. If we do go, let's say 2x above the fair value, it sounds like crazy. Well, $10 trillion, but yeah, I mean, in this bull market right here, the crypto market was sitting at 14 billion. And in the next one, it was sitting at 800 billion. So now going from 3 trillion to 10 trillion, it sounds crazy, but do you have any idea how much more realistic that is compared to this transition? Try to not set the bar too low. You will make more money. You will have a better looking girlfriend. It will just work for everything. Sorry. It's just, I don't know, man. So let's say 10 trillion. That's would be definitely nice, but compared to the last cycles, not even be that bullish, okay? Let's say that the altcoin dominance, again, it will be slightly higher once again this cycle, because overall it made a high, and high. Let's say that it doesn't go way higher. So let's say that it goes to 20%, which is kind of a double top actually, by the way. Whatever, take it. 20% of $10 trillion, $2 trillion. That's also around this target. Right, so that's another way of looking at it. What you, I think, want to do, because nobody has a crystal ball. I am not from the future. If I was from the future, I probably would not put crypto on my priority list. I will come back to tell you though, but hey, if you speculate basically based on multiple of these kind of things, you combine them together and they all give you pretty much the same outcome, then that is an outcome that you should take into consideration. And you cannot say like, well, these charts don't work because this time is different. If this time is different, then this charts will also look different this time. It's nonsense. So try to stick to the facts and not to your emotions. Emotions are just a bad thing, okay? Another thing that you can do is, of course, look at simple Fibonacci tools. Fibonacci tools also, they don't have the answer. They won't look into the future for you, but they do have a certain accuracy to them. Now, if you look what the altcoin market did last time, if you take the Fib level from the top to the bottom, you can see that it topped out at the 5.618 and it topped out at the 6.618 in the second top. If you apply Fib in this cycle, you can see that the 5 and the 6.618 come in around 2.4 and 2.8 $8 trillion. Now, I'm not saying that like it should go to the 6.618 as well, but the interesting thing is that it's yet another indicator that says like, hey, this level, it means something. And even if this is like not even diminishing, but just laying on a deathbed, like, oh, Phoebe, let's just give you good entry and exit, then in that case, you could say like, okay, let's go all the way down there and let's aim for the 1.618, right? Like that's pretty pessimistic, but even that comes in at that $740 trillion. Now, I must say that if we get there, that's a new all-time high, and a new all-time high would probably do a little bit more psychological wise to the market than most people think. I think that if we make a new all-time high, that people feel like, oh, price discovery, and we go up way harder. However, you should keep it to consideration that that's also where this trend line comes in, but that's in June 2026, and also a price target that we gave earlier. So it could line up with this if we have a right translated cycle. Now, I am mostly a proponent. I'm for. I would be, I don't know. What I think is that we are probably not in a left translated cycle, and also not right. I honestly think that believing in that this time is not different until proven otherwise is the best strategy. But if it is different, I think it's moved a little bit more to the right given the business cycle, and then I can see why it may last a little longer and that it should maybe go on until this period. But that is definitely not my base case. For the people that feel like, put on your Moonboy hat, let's do that for once. What we can also expect, the crypto market went 5x above the fair value in the last market. Let's say it's going to be 3 this time. So the altcoin market is still diminishing, right? That's my Moonboy hat. It's still diminishing. It's not like that weird, I think. Let's say it goes to $15 trillion, the total crypto market. But also the altcoin dominance just keeps on making, new highs again. What could that mean? Well, let's say that the bottom is here, hypothetically, right? And that we go to the 1.618. How did that work last time, by the way? Last time we went to the 2, right? So also that's diminishing. The Moonboy hat is leaving already again, right? But that would be around 26%. What's 26% of $15 trillion? That's around, I don't know from the top of my head, but somewhere between $3.5 and $4 trillion, I think. Let's say 3.7. That's here, which is also not that weird, given the fact that that trend line has lined up with this top, with this top, and with this top so far perfectly. So could it line up with the next top once again as well? What I notice is a lot of people, when they hear this kind of stuff, they usually respond with, no, won't happen. But they forgot to give a reason. I try to, I'm not predicting it will go there and I'm not selling before it gets there. I'm trying to look at like, hey, what's likely? It's not even what I necessarily want. Yeah, of course I want it, but I'm positioned that way because I think that, these outcomes are the best bets to take, actually. Because it is just based on how the market moves, plus including a lot of diminishing returns. So yeah, to now here in the post-halving year say like, hey, well, let's be fucking bearish, like that would actually be the unrealistic thing. Long video again, I'm sorry, I will edit half out and it still will be too long. But to wrap it up, the best altcoins, I'm not gonna call too many coins actually for that. It's just a matter of like, hey, what coins do I really believe in? I think that's most important, right? What if we are all wrong and the market goes to shit? Do you want to be in a super fucking floky fart coin that probably dies or goes down with 99%? Or do you feel like, hey, I want to position myself into some big AI plays like a Render, maybe some layer ones in Ethereum, and that kind of stuff that also takes a big hit, but that's probably not going to go down with 99% or die in the next bear market? Because the market has also shown us that, whenever it recovers, it's actually not really the low caps that outperform at this point. People want safety in this type of market. And I get that. I want the same. So the Renders, the AVAXs, the NEARs, the TAUs, all these kind of coins, they outperform. Don't make it too hard like, oh, what coin should I be in? I think that that's not even the biggest challenge in this case. Let me know your thoughts down below. Where do you think that the market could go? And based on something, or based on the fact that you just bought the top and you don't want it to go up anymore because you capitulated and you now hate crypto. That could also be, but then tell me. Thanks for watching. Again, if you want to follow my portfolio, get on a one-on-one call, look at exclusive videos, get this whole trading view set up, course, or this, you know, a lot of stuff. There's a link to the Alpha Factory down below. Do check it out. I think you're getting a lot of value out there. Got some good reviews. Maybe I'll edit some in the video. If not, you just have to believe me. So thanks, like the video, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.